So a lot of people with procrastination vibes think that they're lazy. Do you relate to that? Like when you're procrastinating, you have to do something and you're kind of just like dragging your feet. You're like, I'll do it tomorrow. And it's just like pretty much impossible to take any kind of action towards it, even if the thing that you need to do is like deathly easy. Like you just need to send an email or you just need to, like clear out the desk or you just need to do something like so super simple. But you can't do it. Like your physical body is like in this resistance mode where you're feeling like a little shameful. It feels a little shameful of like, why are you waiting to the last minute all the time? Why is it so difficult for you to take action? Now, you may have been doing these types of things towards things that are like legitimately unimportant, but sometimes the procrastination energy is also towards things that are very important in your life, or you want them to be important. So things like a dream that you have, or a goal that you have, or the vision that you have for yourself, all of a sudden it's like it's here. You see other people doing it. You see that it's possible. You see that there is like so many, variations and versions of what it is that you want to do and how it is that it is possible for you, but you just can't do it. You know what I mean? It's like so hard to do it. So if you resonate with any of that, go ahead and take a nice deep breath. Inhale in through your nose and exhale to your mouth. Hey, friend. We're going to be talking about procrastination, laziness, and the deeper connection that you might not actually be aware of that has everything to do with your nervous system. Okay. So if we don't know each other already, hello, I'm Shanila. Welcome to the Playground Podcast. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. This is your space for spiritual exploration, self mastery, magic, mysticism, basically learning how to not take yourself so seriously so you can live your life. Okay. So welcome to this Playground Podcast. And whenever I'm talking about procrastination and I'm talking about yeah, pretty much like whenever I'm talking about procrastination, the first word that comes to mind for a lot of people is the word lazy. People start to self-describe as I'm lazy. It's like, oh, I feel so lazy, I can't do it. And you'd start to describe the physical somatic cues that your body feels when it's feeling lazy. So there's like a heaviness in your stomach. Your shoulders are feeling like this. You feel like you're dragging your feet. And even like in linguistically, like the words that you're using to describe your feeling, linguistically, you're also saying that, yeah, actually, it makes it very difficult for me to move my feet towards certain things because whenever it is that I do, it makes it harder. It's like dragging my feet through the mud. It's like, so it's weighing me down. It's like the thing that I'm trying to do has so much weight to it, right? So all the words that you're using to describe heaviness or laziness is very heavy, right? Very much physically draining, drowning, weighing you down kind of vibes. Now, whenever you're describing procrastination, there might be a little bit of like actual laziness associated with it. But for the most part, procrastination comes from your nervous system going into a freeze state. Okay. So if you're not familiar with what the heck a nervous system is, I have like a million episodes on the Playground podcast. We've been talking about it for the last 4 years. You can click through and learn more about it. But I'll give you the long story short, which is the nervous system is a bundle of nerves in your body that is determining whether or not you feel safe. Safe emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, energetically, in all the ways that you can describe yourself to be safe. It's saying beep, 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 beep. It's like a radar that's an antenna. It's an antenna determining whether or not you're safe. Okay. So sometimes what happens is that your body, when it has a particular goal in mind, it says, this is unsafe to me. Okay. So whenever you come up with a delusional goal, you're like, oh, I'm going to make a song, or I'm going to do this dance, or I'm going to, go to this event, or I'm going to do something, that is a little bit outside of yourself. Essentially, the way that your body determines that or navigates that is that this is your house. Okay. This is the comfort of your own house. And sometimes we call it the comfort zone, right? So this is the zone where your nervous system is used to being. Whether it's good or bad is just where it's used to being. So that's what it knows. And so, just like all of us, we are comfortable with what it is is that we know. Like if you think about logically, yeah, like I know this road, I know this street, I know this place, I know this restaurant. So you basically kind of can kind of let your guard down just a little bit because you're more familiar with what's happening in the situation or what's happening in the environment. So your nervous system is pretty much doing that same thing too. It wants to keep you in this like comfort zone. So anything that is outside of the comfort zone, it says, this is new. We must worry. This is new. We must come up with a story of all the things that could go wrong because I'm trying to prepare you from being able to be safe. And if you're not going to be safe, then we're going to die. And even though that's like a dramatic thing to say, your body is actually doing that at any given point. Okay. So when you're interacting with a person and you're like, like there's a vibrational transmission that's happening in your physical body with the person. You can feel their vibe, right? Vibrations, vibes. You can feel somebody's vibe. You can feel like a setting is a little off, or you can feel like somebody's, project or something. There's like something funky or weird about it. You have this like intuitive guidance from your nervous system that is always like beep, 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 beep. Okay. So with that having said, your nervous system is not always correct. It's just what it knows. Okay. And sometimes you know a lot of wrong things and it's just like, okay, I'm just going to live my life like being blissfully ignorant. But basically, what it is saying is like, this is what we know, and this is where we feel safe. So that's where we're going to stay. So, in terms of procrastination, circling back there, is that whenever you're setting a goal for yourself, sometimes it feels like a really scary thing to do outside of your comfort zone. And so, it's not that these goals are not possible for you, and it's not that these goals are actually inherently hard in terms of action. Actions are probably like the easiest part of this whole journey. It's the nervous system feeling safe to be able to take the actions towards those goals. And so basically when you say like, oh, I want to do this, and let me make up like a pathway that is like an example for many of my clients that I experience who deal with perfectionism and people pleasing and self-doubt and imposter syndrome. It's not that hard to like send this email. Like you send many emails a day, but this one feels like there's so much weight to it because this is going to change your life. This is the one. When it's like, it's not, it's just like an average email. And it has the potential to change your life. It also has the potential to do nothing. It also has the potential, right? Like there's so many variations of that, but you're basically going into the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is that you're going to send the email and they're going to reject you. Rejection, we hate it because then that triggers your abandonment wound. That triggers your not good enoughness. That triggers all the different other narratives in your body that says it's safer for me to never try anything because every time I try, like I put myself out to be perceived and I put myself out to be wrong and I put myself out to the world of the internet and everybody knows everything on the internet. And like that is a lot, right? And you're not wrong because yes, many negative things happen, and many things are very uncomfortable and true, and many things that are not, reasonable that can happen. There's absolutely that pathway, and also simultaneously, whatever is true, the equal and opposite is true as well. So if you do try, there's also these pathways that can open up that are more desirable. So if you do send this email, maybe it's about connecting to somebody that you've been wanting to connect with, or a mentor that you've been wanting to ask questions to, or somebody's, project that you wanted to collaborate on or something along those lines. But that feels like such a scary thing. Like the rejection part of it feels like such a scary thing. Then we start to say that we are going to wait until next week to send that. We're going to wait until, oh, you know what? I'm going to actually run it by my friends because I'm going to go to dinner with my friends on next Friday. So today's Friday, but the next Friday is when my dinner is. And then when I come to dinner, I'm gonna, pass it along and just see what my friends think because I trust them and they love me too. So they're gonna give me good advice. And then after that, it's gonna be too late on a Friday night. So I'm not gonna email on a Friday, night. So I gotta wait until Monday. But Mondays, like people are so bombarded with the emails that like, oh, but now it's like too late in the week. Okay. You're right and you're wrong, right? Like all of those things are just like the hamster wheels that keep spinning that basically says, let's keep procrastinating. Let's keep like prolonging the action. And like I said, the action in itself is like bleep, 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 click. It's like, oh, done. It's like, hey, what do you think? Bloop, that's it. Like it is as simple as like a two-sentence situation that you can type on your phone, and if you want to, like, I'm somebody who likes to write emails from my computer. So you might be like, okay, yeah, I can't do it because I didn't have time to go on my computer, right? Like, so you create more of a obstacle for yourself. You create more of a hardship for yourself to take that action because essentially your nervous system does not feel safe to take that action. Okay. Because how hard could an email be? You know what I mean? It's like, how hard could putting away your laundry how hard can putting away your laundry be? But it's hard. You know what I mean? But it is. It doesn't change the fact that in your physical body that it feels difficult, right? And that's something I experience with like upkeeping, like general activities around my home. I have time to do it. I don't have the desire to do certain things, or I don't have the attention span to do certain things because sometimes like keeping things organized is also to, allow myself to have a little bit of still time or to allow myself to not really be into a project that I'm really into right now. It feels like distracting me or taking me away. But it's like, I do have to put away the laundry, but I do have to, finish wiping off the counters. I do have to do these different things. There's certain procrastination that comes up because it just feels more difficult in my physical body. It's like, I wish I had, somebody else who was helping me here. You know what I mean? Or somebody to like to share the space with, or to share certain responsibilities and tasks with, to take care of yourself the whole time, all the time. It is like a task, it is an act of devotion, but it is also exhausting. It is also, lonely sometimes. And it's also, a lot of effort and self-preservation and self-motivation and self-discipline to do so many things for yourself. So there's certain things that you might find that are like a little bit, falling off the routine. So I do want to identify that for you. Okay. So if you find that there's certain things that you can't really do right now because you don't have the time or the energy or the attention to do it, that's a completely different pathway than when we're talking about it being a procrastination energy coming from your nervous system. Okay. Because this big goal that you have, or the dream or the vision, and it might not actually even be like a big thing. It might just be like the minuscule, the most like basic desire that you have to like say hi to somebody, you know what I mean? Or just like the basic desire that you have to like initiate like a very small scale something in your life. And I don't know what that could be. That could be just like being vocal about something you want to be vocal about, or to initiate a thing that's not this like big huge thing. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna start that procrastination, or the weight of the goal, the weight of how big this thing feels is going to resonate in your physical body. Okay, so let me give you another vocabulary word. So when we're talking about our nervous system goes into shutdown, I'm also going to give you this word. It's called functional freeze. So you may have heard about your nervous system going into survival mode, right? So you have fight, flight, freeze, and then you have two that are very specific to women they're finding: fawning and friendship. Okay. So I'm not going to define all of these things for you in this particular episode, but essentially fight, flight, and then the freeze component of your nervous system basically means you shut down. All right. So this is your body going into hypo arousal. Hyper is like, let's go do all the things, da, 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 and then you're like doing too much towards that goal sometimes. And then the hypo is on the other end where you're just like, I'm anxious, I'm in panic mode, I'm experiencing a lot of depression. You might feel that in your physical body. So it might not really be a head thing, but it's a physical body experience, or a combination. It's possible that it processes differently for you. So in this freeze state, an additional vocab for you here is functional freeze, which means that you're not frozen in your entire life. You're just frozen about this particular thing that you're avoiding. Okay. And this is heavy perfectionism vibes here. This is heavy codependency vibes. This is very imposter syndrome vibes, where you know how to do many different things and many different things. But as soon as it comes to this particular topic or this particular thing in your life that you aren't really taking, initiative towards, now all of a sudden you're dependent on other people to validate you. Now, all of a sudden, you're waiting for the right time to start. Now, all of a sudden, you're an imposter because now you don't have enough knowledge or information or this thing or that thing in order to, do the thing that you want or to initiate the thing that you want. And all of a sudden you have these very unique fears that are only relevant to this thing. Okay. Because if we were to look at your, resume, if we were to look at like all the different things that you've done, and I'm going to make an assumption that if you're, like hovering it's not anywhere around the playground or any types of conversations that we have, you are inclined as a achiever. You're inclined as an overachiever. You know how to achieve things in your life. So that's not the fact. It's not the lack of skill. We're not talking about like you tangibly lacking a skill to do a thing. Sometimes that's the case. It's like, oh, I don't like actually know how to send an email. Okay, then we need to work on like that part of that. Like if you didn't actually know how to send the email, but that's not the truth, right? That's not a skill relevant complaint. It is just like you can't get yourself to do the email, right? You know how to set the email. You know how to do the technical parts of that. So we're not talking about somebody who is like not technically able or not able to figure it out or not able to Google it or not able to, navigate not having information. We're talking to the complete opposite group of people, which is like, you know exactly how to do a lot of things in a lot of different ways and you have successes in many different things, okay? And you have a history of achievement too. Like you've done very hard things. Like you've done things that are to like the general public like very difficult, and you're kind of just like do what's the big deal? Like I write the paper and I do the thing and I submit this and da da da, but you still can't send this email though. Right? Like, but this email holds a different kind of energy. So the weight and energy go hand in hand because energy are processed as emotions. Okay, emotion, energy in motion. So when you're processing the heaviness, when you're feeling the heaviness, there's a particular emotion that's raised into the body. And oftentimes that emotion is fear, right? So the emotion of fear basically is why all of those other narratives come up, right? That's the motivator. That's the fuel for all the other narratives. Like, I'm not good enough, this thing, that thing, da da da. It's the fear of failure, fear of being perceived, the fear. Okay. So it manifests in different ways, but the energy is still a fear, right? It is the fear of uh if I don't act upon it now and I never act upon it, I'm really just never going to be able to see myself in the gifts that I want to. And that's a fear too. So you're going to go your whole life without living in your purpose. You're going to go your whole life without creating the art of the music that you want. You're going your whole life without blah, 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 like whatever the narrative is for you. Okay. It's fear. Like the fear that time is going to go by and you understand the concept of time, even if it is made up, like it is also true that you as a human live and you die, and so like there's certain things that you have in your now, in the present, however old or not old you are, like in the present, you have a lot of luxuries and a lot of different things that give you the opportunity and privilege to act. But yet, beep, 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 beep. All right. So the reframe that I'm really offering you here in this conversation is that yes, procrastination can have components of laziness to it because like that is true. Some people are just lazy. It's like you have everything like right in front of you and it's like, really, you still couldn't like send that email? You know what I mean? Like there is like laziness to that. But I think laziness is just a little bit more complex and nuanced than you're used to. And when you're looking at laziness from the component of your nervous system and why it is that your body goes into functional freeze, meaning that you're able to be active and do certain things in your different things in your life, like you got that down. But then all of a sudden, when it comes to this project, this activity, this situation, this thing, it's like on such a pedestal. Like it feels so far away. Like what happens after I send this email is going to change my life. And so it's like this. And then when you do finally send that email, because you just made such a fucking big deal about it for the last like what, 5 months? 5 years? Like what is your timeline to that? And then it doesn't pan out the way that you like desired to, then the crash of that action is even more dramatic than it had to. Because if I just send the email, then I immediately received a rejection, I'd be like, oh, now I know. Okay. So like then I can redirect or I can replan. I can be like, hey, why not? Right? Like I can pursue the next thing that is beyond this first action. But if I waited so long, I made the first action so important And I call it like pedestalizing. Like you put it like, oh, no, no, and finally I'm going to send that email. It's like, okay, first then you have to draft it, and then you have to get 10 people to like review it. Then you ask Chat GPT, and then blah, blah, blah. Okay, just send the email. You know what I mean? Like write it and go, and then deal with the consequences of that. But then your physical body is so afraid of what that consequence would be, could be, right? The rejection, the no, the disappointment, all of those things are real. Like you're welcome to feel any of those things. Nothing I'm saying in in this conversation is to say like, oh, just get over it and like don't learn how to feel, just learn how to feel disappointed. But kind of, it's like failing forward, right? Like it's like doing the thing faster so that you learn to move on faster, right? So that rumination, that the sitting with the emotion, sitting with the feeling, sitting with the shame or the not enoughness or the imposter syndrome, it just sits in your physical body. So as I'm talking to you, this is a theoretical question, but also you can drop it into the comments as well. Where do you feel that in your body? Where do you feel it in your body when we're talking about procrastination? When we're talking about this energy of imposter syndrome or rejection or fear? For different people in different places, but notice the way that your stomach is activated right now. Is it going like a little scrunchy, scrunchy? Did you just think that was a fart bubble or what was it? You know what I mean? Like there's all of these somatic cues in your physical body that says, oh no, oh no, oh no, abandon this conversation, abandon the thought, abandon the thing, because like we're experiencing something that is outside of our comfort zone. Rejection is outside of our comfort zone. It really is. And even if you like from a young childhood experience rejection, that's just not human nature. Human nature is collaboration and connection and to be able to see each other, even if you disagree with certain things, and to be able to see each other as people, that we're just like doing the best that we can here. But when you're going outside of that and you feel that every single thing has to be perfect before you can take that action, your stomach is going to clench. It's going to say that you're training me to not be good enough. You're training me to not feel good enough. I'm not even able to feel the most normal human experience of rejection, of fear, of being disappointed. All of those things are not negative experiences. And I think it's also very common that many of us, when we do experience things like fear or disappointment or rejection, we think like negative, a negative thing that happened. Right. And then there's, like bypassing that and being like, oh, rejection, like there was, like the universe is redirecting me, right? Redirect me to something different or something better. That is one way to think about it, or to say, what has this rejection taught me? Okay. So perhaps I waited like 5 months to send the email when this was a time relevant thing. So like I wasted time. So rejection wasn't really about the thing that I felt rejected about. It was really about my ability to act in a reasonable amount of time. So that's what you learn from it. Like all of these different things have lessons in it. So whenever you're experiencing that, when you're experiencing the redirection, when you're experiencing the negative emotion, doesn't exist. It's just the label that we give it, and it's also the narrative that we attach to that. Rejection sometimes, like from a universe spiritual perspective, is like the best redirection that you can receive. Is some of the best lessons that you can learn too. It also protects you from belonging to things that you don't actually belong to, or you don't really want to belong to, but that your soul knew that, your heart knew that, your gut knew that. And so when you get the door shut on your face, it actually opens up the possibility of many other things in the grid of human consciousness. And now you on a platter are fed, here's the other options, right? And then you trial, it's like a buffet. You trial different things, and then you finally come to the things that's like, oh, this is in my alignment. This is in my truth. This is the thing that really resonates in my body. Yeah. So, friends, I will leave you here with this part of the conversation. And of course, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the podcast. And I also mentioned that if you're somebody who's learning more about the nervous system, you want to learn more about regulating the nervous system, not just for yourself, but if you are somebody who works with clients, like a therapist, and you're a coach, or you're a wellness practitioner, you're a healer, you're a nurse, you're somebody who's in the healing arts profession, and you really want to develop mastery of the nervous system, and you want to do it through the lens of wisdom traditions like yoga, Ayurveda, martial arts, movement sciences, energy sciences, elemental sciences, come through to Flow Breathwork Facilitator Training. We are a 12-week facilitator training program, fully virtual, where you get to practice with lots of different people who are just like you, healing through the shit that you're healing through too, and really learning how to develop your facilitator's voice. Because one thing I know about many people who are in my stratosphere, who I magnetize and who I particularly attract, is that you have a desire to be of service. You want to help people, you want to feel like you're in your purpose, and you want to feel like you can shine in your gifts and really utilize the skills that you have. But if there's a little bit of fear that's lingering because you don't get to have spaces where you see yourself in this practice, and you don't get to have the community support, that's what holds a lot of people back. So in Flow Breathwork, we're doing all of that. We're learning, we're studying, we're also creating a space where you can practice the muscles that you're learning. So you're not just learning up here in your mind, you're also learning how to put things into practice. Yeah. So head to www.flowbreathworktraining.com. And friends, just remember, the world is your playground. And until next time, I will catch you soon.